You step on the
Okay,
scale,
let's see my
watch the
weight.
number tick up a fraction of a
There it
pound,
is.
and the
The
guilt
sober demeanor
instantly
belies an
washes over you.
emotional.
Why do I
You
keep
blame
doing this to
yourself
myself?
for eating those
Bread,
carbs,
pasta, potato.
for not running long enough on the treadmill, and for
Willpower
simply
is about
lacking
making
the
conscious
willpower to be
choices.
thin.
This diagram
What if
illustrates
I
the
told
mechanics
you
of
that
thought,
your
showing how
self-doubt
the brain
is a
structures interact
perfectly
in a mechanical
engineered product
process.
created by a $250 billion industry? The
Community
weight
health
loss
trends
and
show we must
processed
guide
food
better
conglomerates
choices.
don't make
So
their
many
money when
options
you get
here.
thin and stay healthy. They print billions when you perpetually fail. For decades, we have been brainwashed by marketing campaigns disguised as medical advice, cherry-picked studies funded by corporations, and outright lies designed to keep you trapped in an endless loop of dieting, regaining weight, and buying more of their garbage. You don't lack discipline. You are navigating a maze built by people who want you lost. It is time to tear down the walls. Here are 42 weight loss lies that have tricked an entire generation. 1. You have been told that if you simply consume fewer calories than you burn, you will absolutely lose weight. You believe your body operates like a simple math calculator, where 100 calories of gummy bears is treated exactly the same as 100 calories of broccoli. Dietitians, fitness apps, and your Apple Watch all demand that you obsessively log every single number that enters your mouth. The reality is, your body is a highly complex chemical laboratory, not a digital abacus. The source of your calories dictates exactly how your hormones respond, specifically insulin. 100 calories of sugar will trigger a massive insulin spike, instantly signaling your body to store fat. Meanwhile, 100 calories of protein requires significantly more energy just to digest and keeps your hunger hormones suppressed. Furthermore, your gut microbiome extracts calories from different foods in vastly different ways. This purely mathematical belief stems from the late 19th century, when chemist Wilbur Olin Atwater invented a system to measure calories by literally incinerating food in a bomb calorimeter. The modern food industry hijacked this primitive physics concept to convince you their processed junk can be part of a balanced diet as long as the math works out. Turns out, treating all calories as equals is as stupid as saying a shot of vodka and a glass of water are the same thing, because they are both liquids. 2. You believe that eating dietary fat will automatically make you fat. You think that if you want a slim waistline, you must permanently banish butter, animal fats, and egg yolks from your kitchen. For the last 40 years, cardiologists, government food pyramids, and an avalanche of low-fat supermarket brands have drilled this fear into your skull. The truth is, natural dietary fat doesn't make you fat. Refined carbohydrates and sugars do. Dietary fat is absolutely essential for hormone production and vitamin absorption. When you strip fat from your meals, you never feel satiated, which leads you to overeat carbohydrates. Your body then breaks those excess carbs down into glucose, spikes your insulin, and happily packs it all away as visceral belly fat. The origin of this phobia dates back to the 1960s, when the Sugar Research Foundation secretly paid Harvard scientists to publish a literature review pointing the finger at saturated fat, effectively clearing sugar of any blame for heart disease and obesity. They demonized the one macronutrient that actually makes you full, just so they could sell you an endless supply of low-fat, high-sugar cardboard. 3. You have always believed that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You assume you have to kickstart your metabolism with food the second you wake up, otherwise your body will shut down. Your parents, morning television hosts, and every glossy health magazine have repeated this mantra since you were a toddler. In reality, your metabolism does not care if you chew on something at 7 p.m. Your metabolic rate is dictated by your total energy expenditure and food intake over a 24-hour period, not by the hands on a clock. Skipping breakfast actually keeps your insulin levels low and forces your body to tap into stored body fat for morning energy. If you aren't hungry, forcing down a bagel is just adding surplus calories to your day for absolutely no biological reason. The most important meal concept was actually born from a genius 1944 marketing campaign called Eat a Good Breakfast, orchestrated by the cereal giant Kellogg's. They hired nutritionists to manufacture fear so they could move more boxes of processed cornflakes. The most sacred health rule of the 20th century was just a corporate hustle to sell you sugar in the morning. 4. You believe that eating anything after 8:00 p.m. will automatically turn into stubborn fat. You think your digestive system essentially goes to sleep, trapping late-night calories in your gut. Fitness influencers, lifestyle bloggers, and intermittent fasting zealots constantly warn you about this strict dietary curfew. The truth is, your digestive tract doesn't own a Rolex, and it processes food exactly the same way at midnight as it does at noon. Weight gain happens when your total daily caloric intake exceeds your output, regardless of the hour. The real issue with late-night eating isn't the time. It's the fact that nobody wakes up at 11:00 p.m. craving a plain chicken breast and kale. Late-night food usually consists of hyper-palatable, calorie-dense snacks like ice cream and potato chips eaten mindlessly on the couch. This myth was originally passed down as a behavioral trick to stop people from binging on junk food before bed. But the media eventually warped it into a fake biological law. Your stomach can't tell time. It only counts energy. 5. You assume that the more you sweat, the more fat you are burning. You look down at the puddles you leave on the gym floor and proudly think of them as your fat cells crying. Spin class instructors, sauna suit manufacturers, and hardcore cardio junkies have always used sweat volume as the ultimate metric for a successful workout. In reality, sweating is just your body's air conditioning system. It has absolutely zero correlation with fat oxidation. When your body metabolizes fat, it is actually expelled primarily through your lungs as carbon dioxide, with a tiny fraction leaving via urine. If you run in a garbage bag and weigh yourself afterward, you haven't burned 3 pounds of fat. You have just dangerously dehydrated yourself, and the scale will bounce right back the second you drink a glass of water. This bizarre metric was adopted from combat sports, where fighters dehydrate themselves in saunas to make weight classes before a bout. The fitness industry co-opted the visual to sell expensive sweat-inducing gear to average people. Sweat isn't fat crying. It's just your body begging you to cool down. 6. You believe that doing hundreds of crunches every day will melt the fat off your stomach. You think you can pick and choose exactly where your body loses its flab. YouTube thumbnails promising 11-line abs in 7 days, late-night infomercials, and core-focused workout programs practically guarantee this result. The truth is, spot reduction is a biological impossibility. When you are in a caloric deficit, your body pulls fat from all over your frame based on a genetically predetermined sequence. It does not pull energy exclusively from the fat cells directly above the working muscle. Doing sit-ups will definitely build stronger abdominal muscles, but those muscles will remain completely hidden under a layer of fat until your overall body fat percentage drops. The spot reduction fantasy was heavily promoted in the 1980s and 90s by companies peddling gimmick exercise equipment on television. They needed a magical promise to convince you to spend 3 easy payments of $39.99 on an ab roller. You cannot command your body to lose fat from your belly any more than you can command a swimming pool to only drain from the shallow end. 7. You have been taught that your BMI, or body mass index, is the ultimate scientific measure of your health and obesity level. You panic when an online calculator places you in the overweight category. Insurance companies, general practitioners, and the World Health Organization still use this metric on official charts everywhere. The reality is that BMI is a wildly inaccurate mathematical fraction that is completely blind to body composition. The formula simply divides your weight by your height squared. It cannot differentiate between dense muscle mass, visceral organ fat, or heavy bone density. As a result, professional athletes and bodybuilders with incredibly low body fat are routinely classified as obese, while individuals with dangerous levels of hidden internal fat can be labeled healthy. This index was invented in the 1830s by a Belgian astronomer and mathematician named Adolphe Quetelet, not a doctor. He created it strictly to study population statistics, and he explicitly warned against using it for individual health assessments. American life insurance companies later adopted it because it was the laziest, cheapest way to categorize their customers. Judging your health by your BMI is like trying to guess your IQ by measuring your hat size. 8. You believe that spending hours on a treadmill or elliptical is the fastest and most effective way to lose weight. You actively avoid the weight room because you think lifting iron is only for meatheads. Gym teachers, running shoe companies, and decades of pop culture have cemented cardio as the undisputed king of weight loss. Actually, resistance training and building skeletal muscle is a vastly superior long-term fat-burning engine. Cardiovascular exercise only burns calories while you are actively doing it. The second you step off the treadmill, the calorie burn drops. Lifting heavy weights, however, creates micro-tears in your muscle fibers that force your body to expend massive amounts of energy over the next 24 to 48 hours to repair them. More importantly, every pound of muscle you build permanently increases your basal metabolic rate. The absolute dominance of cardio was birthed from the 1970s aerobics craze started by Dr. Kenneth Cooper. The sporting goods industry quickly realized they could sell millions of expensive running shoes and apparel to a massive demographic, whereas selling chunks of iron to a few gym-goers wasn't nearly as profitable. The treadmill might make you a smaller version of your current self, but lifting weights is what actually changes your body shape. 9. You think that drinking expensive detox juices will flush harmful toxins out of your fat cells and make you thin. You genuinely believe in suffering through a 5-day master cleanse of lemon water and cayenne pepper. Instagram celebrities, holistic health blogs, and juice bar franchises relentlessly preach the gospel of cleansing your system. In reality, the concept of a dietary detox is absolute pseudo-scientific garbage. Your body is already equipped with the most sophisticated detoxification system on the planet: your liver and your kidneys. If those organs stop filtering toxins, you don't need a cold-pressed celery juice. You need an emergency room. These liquid cleanses completely strip the beneficial fiber out of the fruit, leaving you with a massive sugar bomb that spikes your insulin and leaves you starving. The word detox was exclusively a medical term used for treating drug and alcohol addiction until marketers stole it in the early 2000s. They invented a phantom problem called toxic sludge, just so they could sell you a liquid solution at a 500% markup. You aren't buying health, you are just buying the most expensive urine in town. 10. You believe that brown sugar, raw cane sugar, and honey are significantly healthier and better for your waistline than white table sugar. You feel a sense of relief when you see "sweetened with natural cane sugar" on a food label. Upscale coffee shops, organic bakeries, and food conglomerates aggressively market the superiority of these earthy-looking sweeteners. The harsh truth is, sugar is sugar, and your body processes all of them with the exact same ruthless efficiency. Commercial brown sugar is literally just refined white sugar, with a tiny splash of molasses added back in for color and flavor. While raw honey contains microscopic, negligible amounts of trace minerals, biochemically, they all break down into glucose and fructose. Once they hit your bloodstream, they trigger the exact same insulin response and liver fat accumulation as the cheap white stuff. This lie gained traction during the natural foods movement in the 1990s. The sugar industry realized consumers were catching on to their toxic product, so they simply dyed it brown, slapped a natural label on it, and doubled the price. Thinking brown sugar is a diet food is like thinking a brown cigarette is better for your lungs than a white one. 11. You think switching from regular soda to diet or zero soda is a brilliant weight loss hack because it contains 0 calories. You happily chug liters of the stuff, convinced you've found a loophole in the matrix. Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and massive advertising campaigns have spent billions assuring you these drinks are the perfect tool for weight management. The truth is, artificial sweeteners can sabotage your metabolism and gut health even worse than real sugar. When your tongue tastes extreme sweetness, your brain anticipates a massive influx of calories and triggers an insulin release. When those calories never arrive, your body gets confused and triggers intense physiological cravings, usually for actual carbohydrates. Furthermore, studies show that chemicals like sucralose and aspartame decimate your gut microbiome, heavily impairing your body's natural glucose tolerance. The beverage industry created diet sodas in the 1960s to retain customers who were starting to panic about their waistlines. They funded countless safety studies to protect their patents, conveniently ignoring the neurological havoc these chemicals wreak on your hunger signals. Trying to lose weight with diet soda is like teasing a hungry bear with a plastic steak. Eventually, it's going to bite you. 12. You have been taught that vegetable oils like soybean, canola, and sunflower oil are heart-healthy, and much better for staying lean than cooking with butter or lard. You confidently buy clear bottles with little red hearts printed on the label. The American Heart Association, mainstream dietitians, and multinational food corporations have preached this dogma for over half a century. In reality, industrial seed oils are highly inflammatory compounds that actively block your body's ability to burn fat. These oils are extracted using extreme heat and toxic chemical solvents like hexane, creating massive amounts of oxidized omega-6 fatty acids. When you consume this unnatural flood of omega-6s, it causes systemic cellular inflammation, ruins your insulin sensitivity, and makes it incredibly difficult for your body to release stored fatty acids to be burned for fuel. This massive nutritional fraud began in the 1940s when Procter & Gamble donated $1.5 million to the newly formed American Heart Association. In return, the AHA began advising the public to replace traditional animal fats with industrial seed oils, stuff that was originally manufactured as machine lubricant. You are pouring engine grease on your salad and wondering why your metabolism is stalling. 13. You trust that buying foods labeled low-fat or fat-free at the grocery store is a smart way to control your weight. You fill your cart with low-fat yogurt, fat-free salad dressing, and skinny muffins. Entire supermarket aisles and fast-moving consumer goods companies have built a retail empire out of these two words. Actually, low-fat almost always translates to packed with synthetic chemicals and high-fructose corn syrup. When food manufacturers suck the natural fat out of a product, it tastes like wet cardboard. To make it edible again, they have to pump it full of refined sugar, excess sodium, and artificial thickeners. This massive payload of sugar hits your liver instantly, driving up your insulin, and your body immediately converts those empty calories into triglycerides and belly fat. This catastrophe was the direct result of the 1977 U.S. dietary goals, which officially advised Americans to reduce their fat intake. Big Food saw a golden opportunity, launching thousands of highly profitable, sugar-laden frankenfoods to capitalize on the public's newly minted fear of fat. Buying fat-free food is essentially paying a corporation to help your body manufacture its own fat out of sugar. 14. You assume that eating 5 to 6 small meals a day will stoke the metabolic fire and keep your body in a constant state of fat burning. You carry little plastic containers of snacks everywhere, so you never go hungry. Bodybuilding magazines, old-school personal trainers, and the protein bar industry absolutely love pushing this concept. The reality is that eating constantly does not increase the total calories you burn. It just keeps your body locked in a perpetual state of fat storage. Every single time you eat, no matter how small the meal, your pancreas releases insulin to deal with the nutrients. As long as your insulin levels are elevated, your body cannot access its fat stores. Eating 6 times a day gives your digestive system zero rest and simply turns you into a neurotic food addict, constantly watching the clock for your next snack. This belief stemmed from a massive misunderstanding of the thermic effect of food in early nutritional studies. The snack food industry latched onto this flawed science immediately, realizing they could convince you to buy their products not just for meals, but for mid-morning and mid-afternoon grazing. You aren't stoking a metabolic fire. You are just being held hostage by Tupperware. 15. You believe that carbohydrates are the absolute enemy of weight loss. You think that if you want to get lean, you have to break up with potatoes, rice, and oatmeal forever. Extreme keto diet communities, low-carb evangelists, and countless best-selling diet books have turned carbs into public enemy number 1. The truth is, your body thrives on high-quality carbohydrates. What actually makes you fat are refined, hyper-processed carbohydrates. Complex carbs like sweet potatoes, steel-cut oats, and quinoa are packaged with dense layers of natural fiber. This fiber acts as a net, drastically slowing the release of glucose into your bloodstream and feeding the good bacteria in your gut. Completely eliminating carbs can actually crash your thyroid function, ruin your sleep, and destroy your workout performance. The rampant carb phobia peaked in the early 2000s with the explosion of the Atkins diet. It successfully villainized an entire essential macronutrient, creating a vacuum that the food industry quickly filled with wildly expensive, highly processed, keto-friendly garbage. Blaming a sweet potato for what a powdered donut did to your body is the greatest miscarriage of justice in nutritional science. 16. You think that eating too much fruit will stall your weight loss because fruit is full of fructose. You start denying yourself bananas, mangoes, and apples because you fear they will ruin your diet. Certain hardcore online fitness coaches and strict low-carb gurus constantly sound the alarm about the dangerous sugar content in nature's candy. In reality, not a single human being in the history of the planet has ever become obese from eating too many apples or watermelons. Yes, fruit contains fructose, but it is locked inside a rigid cellular matrix of water, vitamins, and insoluble fiber. That fiber acts as a biological brake pedal, preventing your liver from being overwhelmed by sugar all at once. Fructose only becomes a lethal, fat-generating poison when it is extracted, concentrated, and pumped into soft drinks as high-fructose corn syrup. This confusion arose when the public read the headlines of studies condemning industrial fructose. They foolishly conflated lab-created liquid sugar with whole, natural foods, creating an utterly ridiculous dietary panic. You are avoiding a juicy, nutrient-dense piece of fruit just to eat an artificially sweetened protein bar. And somehow, you think you're the smart one. 17. You believe that over-the-counter fat burner supplements can literally melt the fat off your waistline without you having to change your diet. You willingly drop $50 a bottle for these magic pills. Supplement companies, sponsored athletes pushing promo codes, and multi-level marketing schemes make billions off this exact hope. The devastating truth is, there is not a single legal pill on the market that can magically incinerate your body fat. If you look at the label of 99% of commercial fat burners, the primary ingredients are just a massive dose of cheap caffeine and some green tea extract. They will make your heart race, make you sweat while sitting still, and temporarily blunt your appetite, but they cannot overcome a terrible diet. Unless you are taking highly illegal, potentially lethal chemical uncouplers, pills don't burn fat. The supplement industry thrives on a massive legal loophole, specifically the 1994 DSHEA Act in the U.S., which allows them to sell these pills without ever proving they actually work to the FDA, as long as they don't claim to cure a disease. You are essentially buying glorified, overpriced coffee pills in a shiny bottle. 18. You assume that having a massive cheat day once a week will shock your metabolism and prevent your body from adapting to your diet. You starve yourself for 6 days just to eat like an unsupervised child on Sunday. Fitness YouTubers, Hollywood actors like The Rock, and fitness magazines have turned the weekly cheat day into a sacred, celebrated ritual. The reality is, one day of unrestrained binge eating can entirely wipe out an entire week's worth of careful caloric deficits. If you maintain a 500-calorie deficit Monday through Saturday, you are down 3,000 calories. But if you crush 4,000 excess calories of pizza, beer, and ice cream on Sunday, you actually end the week in a caloric surplus and will gain weight. Worse, it creates a wildly toxic relationship with food, practically training you to develop binge eating disorder. The fitness industry invented the cheat day to make their miserable, overly restrictive diet plans seem sustainable. It keeps clients from quitting entirely, ensuring they stay on the hook to buy the next workout program. A cheat day doesn't trick your metabolism. It only tricks your own basic math skills. 19. You believe that if you fast or cut your calories too low, your body will immediately enter starvation mode, bringing your metabolism to a screeching halt and forcing you to store fat from thin air. You panic the second your stomach growls. Anti-fasting dietitians and old-school nutritionists constantly use this boogeyman to scare clients into eating their prescribed meal plans. The truth is, genuine physiological starvation mode only kicks in when your body fat drops to lethally low single digits and you are literally weeks away from dying. Humans evolved to survive periods of famine. When you stop eating for a day, your body simply switches fuel sources, opening up your fat stores for energy while jacking up human growth hormone and adrenaline to keep you sharp enough to hunt. If skipping a meal caused you to instantly store fat and become lethargic, the human race would have been eaten by predators in the Stone Age. This misunderstanding was born from the 1944 Minnesota starvation experiment, where already lean men were starved for months. Dietitians took the results wildly out of context and applied them to overweight people who just wanted to skip lunch. If starvation mode actually made people fat, anyone stranded on a desert island would come home obese. 20. You believe that the source of your food doesn't matter for weight loss, as long as you adhere to the golden rule of a calorie is a calorie. The processed food industry and global soda conglomerates have spent fortunes lobbying to get this philosophy taught in schools and public policy. The reality is that your body's biochemical response to 500 calories of wild-caught salmon is vastly different from its response to 500 calories of Oreos. Protein calories trigger powerful satiety hormones and cost your body energy to break down. Conversely, liquid sugar calories completely bypass your brain's hunger sensors, meaning you can consume 1,000 calories of soda and still feel starving. Furthermore, those junk calories actively damage your liver and promote insulin resistance, changing how your body partitions energy in the future. This dangerous philosophy was heavily promoted by the Global Energy Balance Network, a scientific organization secretly funded by Coca-Cola. Their entire mission was to shift the blame for obesity away from toxic junk food and pin it entirely on a lack of exercise. Saying all calories are equal is as delusional as saying counterfeit money, and real money have the same value just because they are both printed on paper. 21. You think that agave nectar is a safe, natural sweetener that is perfect for diabetics and weight loss. You confidently drizzle it over your morning oats and feel incredibly health-conscious. Organic food stores, vegan influencers, and brands obsessed with 100% natural labels have practically canonized this syrup. In reality, agave nectar is one of the absolute worst things you can put in your body, arguably more toxic than high-fructose corn syrup. While table sugar is 50% fructose, agave is heavily processed in chemical vats to reach a fructose concentration of up to 90%. This massive payload of isolated fructose goes straight to your liver, driving non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, skyrocketing your blood triglycerides, and causing massive insulin resistance. Agave was the ultimate greenwashing scam of the 2000s. The industry realized they could take the discarded starchy bulbs from tequila production, chemically refine them into a syrup, and sell it at a premium to gullible shoppers who blindly trust the word organic. It isn't a gift from an ancient Aztec goddess. It is industrial corn syrup wearing a flower crown. 22. You believe that switching to gluten-free foods will automatically help you lose weight and clear up your health issues. You fill your pantry with gluten-free bread, cookies, and pasta. Hollywood celebrities, best-selling diet books, and a massive fad diet culture turned gluten into the ultimate dietary villain. The truth is, processed gluten-free junk food often contains significantly more calories, sugar, and fat than its regular wheat counterparts. Gluten is just a structural protein found in wheat. Unless you have celiac disease, which affects roughly 1% of the population, or a legitimate intolerance, removing it does nothing for weight loss. When manufacturers remove gluten from a cookie, the dough falls apart. To glue it back together, they pack it with refined tapioca starch, rice flour, and extra sugar, making the glycemic spike even worse. This multi-billion-dollar craze exploded after the publication of the book Wheat Belly in 2011. The food industry saw a fresh, terrifying boogeyman and immediately created a massively lucrative gluten-free aisle out of thin air. You are dodging a harmless protein just to pay triple the price for a heavily processed brick of sugary rice flour. 23. You assume that if you stop lifting weights or take a break from the gym, your hard-earned, rock-solid muscle will physically turn into jiggly fat. You look at retired athletes who have let themselves go and assume this is biological fact. People who have never lifted a weight in their lives, and lazy tabloid magazines love to parrot this terrifying fitness myth. The truth is, muscle and fat are two completely different types of biological tissue, and it is scientifically impossible for one to transform into the other. Muscle is made of protein, water, and glycogen. Fat is made of lipid cells. Alchemy cannot turn lead into gold, and your body cannot magically transfigure muscle cells into fat cells. When you stop training, your muscles simply shrink from lack of use. Because you are now burning fewer calories but likely still eating like an athlete, your body creates brand new fat cells and layers them over the shrinking muscle. This bizarre concept is purely an optical illusion. People saw a retired linebacker's massive arms get soft, and their brain lazily deduced that the muscle had melted into fat. You don't turn muscle into fat, you just lose the muscle and build the fat all by yourself. 24. You, particularly if you are a woman, believe that if you lift heavy weights, you will instantly become bulky, blocky, and look like a male bodybuilder. You stick strictly to the tiny 3-pound pink dumbbells out of fear. Aerobics instructors, mainstream beauty magazines, and decades of societal conditioning have deeply linked heavy iron with extreme masculine physiques. The reality is, women simply do not possess the natural testosterone levels required to accidentally build massive, bulky muscles. Men produce 10 to 15 times more testosterone than women. For a woman to look like a professional bodybuilder, it requires years of agonizing training, eating a massive caloric surplus, and almost always the use of exogenous anabolic steroids. For a normal woman, lifting heavy weights results in exactly one thing: a dense, sculpted, highly efficient, fat-burning physique. This fear is a hangover from 1980s fitness magazines featuring female pro bodybuilders who were secretly using male hormones. The media recklessly attached that extreme image to the simple act of a woman doing a heavy squat. Being afraid to lift heavy because you might get too bulky is like being afraid to drive your car because you might accidentally win the Daytona 500. 25. You believe that drinking ice-cold water will force your body to burn a massive amount of extra calories because it has to expend energy to warm the liquid up to body temperature. Every lazy listicle on the internet and daytime talk show segment about effortless weight loss hacks includes this tip. In reality, the amount of energy your body burns to heat up cold water is so mathematically insignificant it borders on comical. According to the laws of thermodynamics, yes, heating water takes energy. But warming an 8-ounce glass of ice water to 98.6 degrees burns roughly 8 total calories. If you chugged 8 glasses of freezing water a day, you would burn an extra 64 calories, the equivalent of eating 1/4 of an apple. This hack was extrapolated from controlled laboratory physics experiments by desperate lifestyle writers who needed to fill space on a magazine page with easy-sounding tricks. You cannot outsmart your visceral fat by torturing your throat with ice cubes. 26. You think that strapping yourself into a corset or waist trainer for a few hours a day will physically mold your waistline into an hourglass shape and crush belly fat. You endure the suffocating pressure for the sake of aesthetics. The Kardashian family, Instagram models, and hyper-targeted social media ads move millions of these medieval devices every single year. The devastating truth is, you cannot squeeze fat out of existence. You are only crushing your internal organs. Body fat is not Play-Doh that can be molded into a new shape. When you crank that belt tight, you are just temporarily displacing fluids and dangerously compressing your liver, stomach, and lungs. Worse, wearing an external support makes your actual core muscles lazy. They stop working to hold you up, they atrophy, and when you take the belt off, your stomach will actually look weaker and softer. The corset is a Victorian-era torture device that was brilliantly rebranded in the 21st century by celebrities who secretly got liposuction and needed a product to sell to explain their sudden tiny waists. You are literally paying to suffocate yourself while your belly fat stays exactly where it is, mocking you. 27. You believe that if you do cardio on an empty stomach or practice intermittent fasting, your body will panic and start eating its own muscle tissue for energy instead of fat. You live in constant fear of going catabolic. The sports supplement industry and guys at the gym carrying gallon water jugs will scream at you to drink a protein shake before your workout to protect your gains. The truth is, human biology is not stupid enough to burn its most precious survival machinery, muscle, while sitting on a massive bank of stored fuel, fat. During short-term fasting, your body actually spikes human growth hormone, HGH, by up to 500%, specifically to preserve and protect your lean muscle tissue. It prioritizes oxidizing fatty acids for energy. Genuine muscle wasting only occurs when your body fat drops to extreme, dangerously low levels, and there is literally no other fuel left. This fear-mongering was heavily funded by supplement companies in the 1990s. They needed to manufacture a sense of dietary emergency, so you would buy their pre-workout and intra-workout powders. Fearing muscle loss because you skipped breakfast is like fearing a billionaire will sell his organs to buy a sandwich just because he left his wallet at home for the afternoon. 28. You assume that natural sugar from pureed fruit, dates, or maple syrup doesn't count toward your daily sugar limit. You proudly bake sugar-free brownies by blending 20 whole dates into the batter. The clean eating community and Pinterest baking blogs treat these ingredients like they possess magical, harmless properties. In reality, once you destroy the cellular structure of a fruit by pulverizing it, your liver treats it almost exactly like refined table sugar. When you blend dates into a paste, you obliterate the protective fiber matrix. When you eat that brownie, the massive dose of fructose hits your bloodstream with the same velocity as eating a handful of Skittles, spiking your insulin and promoting fat storage. Your liver reacts to the chemical footprint of fructose. It doesn't care if it came from a factory or a palm tree. This delusion is fueled by the alternative baking industry, which exploits the public's lack of biochemical knowledge to slap a guilt-free halo on highly concentrated, unrefined sugars. Natural sugar is still sugar, just like rattlesnake venom is 100% organic, but will still put you in the ground. 29. You have been commanded to drink exactly 8 8-ounce glasses of water every single day to flush out fat and lose weight. You haul a massive plastic jug around the office like it's a religious artifact. Dermatologists, fitness magazines, and bottled water companies have elevated the 888 rule to absolute scientific gospel. The truth is, there is zero scientific evidence that drinking 8 glasses of water has any magical fat-flushing properties or is the required amount for every human. Hydration needs are incredibly highly individualized, depending on your body mass, climate, and activity level. Furthermore, you get a massive amount of your daily water from the food you eat, like soups, vegetables, and fruit. Chugging excess water beyond your thirst doesn't melt fat. It just forces your kidneys to work overtime and flushes essential electrolytes like sodium out of your system. This myth was born from a 1945 recommendation by the U.S. Food and Nutrition Board, but everyone ignored the very next sentence in the report, which read, "Most of this quantity is contained in prepared foods." The bottled water industry was more than happy to let you forget that second sentence. Drink when you are thirsty. Your brain has had a highly calibrated water sensor built into it for 2 million years. 30. You believe in the mystical anabolic window, the idea that you must aggressively chug a whey protein shake within 30 minutes of finishing your workout, or your session was completely wasted. Locker room bros, bodybuilding forums, and every single protein powder label heavily emphasize the extreme urgency of post-workout nutrition. The truth is, your body's window for protein synthesis is massive, stretching out for 24 to 48 hours after you leave the gym. Modern sports science has proven that your total daily protein intake is vastly more important for building muscle and burning fat than the exact minute you consume it. Unless you are an Olympic athlete, training twice a day, eating a normal protein-rich meal a few hours after your workout yields the exact same biological results as frantically shaking a plastic bottle in the parking lot. The paranoia surrounding the 30-minute window was intentionally amplified by the sports nutrition industry. They needed a compelling reason to make their powdered product a mandatory, time-sensitive emergency rather than just a convenience. Your muscles don't have a ticking bomb strapped to them. They just need enough building materials over the course of the day. 31. You think margarine is a modern, heart-healthy, weight-loss-friendly alternative to traditional butter. You spread that pale yellow sludge on your toast and feel like a responsible adult. Public health campaigns in the 70s and 80s, backed by massive agricultural lobbying, painted butter as an absolute widowmaker. The horrifying truth is, for decades, commercial margarine was entirely composed of artificial trans fats, the most toxic, fat-promoting chemical ever introduced into the human diet. To turn liquid vegetable oil into a solid, spreadable brick, food engineers blasted it with hydrogen gas and metal catalysts. This created synthetic trans fats, which aggressively lowered your good cholesterol, spiked the bad, caused massive systemic inflammation, and triggered visceral fat storage faster than any natural food. Margarine was originally invented by a French chemist for Napoleon's army as a dirt-cheap butter substitute. It only conquered America because agricultural giants realized they could manufacture it for pennies and use PR firms to smear dairy farmers. You abandoned food from a cow to eat industrial plastic created in a chemistry lab. 32. You assume that any food slapped with a certified organic label is inherently lower in calories, won't make you fat, and is 100% healthy. You blindly throw a $9 box of organic cookies into your cart. High-end supermarkets and the green marketing machine have successfully created a bulletproof health halo around that specific word. In reality, the word organic only dictates how the raw ingredients were farmed. It has absolutely zero bearing on the caloric density or sugar content of the final product. An organic toaster pastry made with organic white flour, organic cane sugar, and organic palm oil is still a hyper-processed sugar bomb. Your pancreas doesn't care that the sugar was grown without synthetic pesticides. It is still going to spike your insulin and store the excess energy as belly fat. The multi-billion-dollar organic industry leans heavily into the psychological health halo effect. They use earthy, muted packaging colors so your brain unconsciously associates environmentally friendly with weight loss. Getting obese off organic junk food doesn't make your fat cells any more luxurious or virtuous. 33. You believe that ordering a salad at a restaurant is the ultimate bulletproof diet choice. You grimace at your friends eating burgers while you righteously stab at a piece of lettuce. Every chain restaurant on earth highlights their salad menu as the sanctuary for health-conscious diners. The truth is, the average restaurant salad packs significantly more calories, sugar, and fat than a standard fast food cheeseburger. While the leafy greens are harmless, restaurants know that no one wants to pay $18 for plain spinach. To make it palatable, they bury it in candied nuts, dried fruit, deep-fried croutons, mounds of cheese, and an ocean of dressing made from industrial seed oils and high-fructose corn syrup. A standard restaurant Cobb or Caesar salad easily blasts past the 1,200-calorie mark. Restaurants are in the business of making food taste incredible, not making you thin. They figured out that the easiest way to sell a cheap bowl of vegetables is to turn it into a high-fat, high-sugar dessert, disguised in a green bowl. Don't kid yourself. You aren't eating a salad. You're eating a bowl of liquid fat with some structural lettuce thrown in. 34. You have been told that the second you turn 30, your metabolism falls off a cliff, making it biologically impossible to stay thin. You use your age as the ultimate unfixable excuse for your expanding waistline. Office water cooler talk, pessimistic internet memes, and tired tropes about middle age constantly reinforce this depressing biological curse. The actual science shows that your metabolic rate remains remarkably stable and unchanged from age 20 all the way until age 60. A massive landmark 2021 study on human metabolism completely debunked the age drop myth. The real reason you gained weight in your 30s isn't your cells slowing down. It's your lifestyle. You took a sedentary desk job, you stopped playing pickup sports, you drink more wine to cope with stress, and you sit on the couch because you are exhausted. As you move less, you lose muscle mass, which lowers your daily calorie burn. This myth survives because it acts as a comforting psychological safety blanket, allowing adults to blame father time instead of their own deteriorating dietary habits. Your metabolism didn't slow down. Your feet did. 35. You think you can physically sweat out the toxins from your junk food diet and weekend binge drinking by hitting the sauna. You sit in the heat, convinced the bad choices are oozing out of your pores. High-end spas, hot yoga studios, and detox tea brands constantly market the purifying, fat-melting power of a good sweat. The reality is that sweat is 99% water, along with some trace sodium and minerals. Absolutely no alcohol or dietary toxins leave your body through your skin. Your liver and kidneys have a 100% monopoly on processing and eliminating toxins, which they happily dispose of via urine and feces. You cannot sweat out a greasy pizza, nor can you vaporize the calories you drank the night before. The lighter, cleansed feeling you get after a sauna is strictly the result of acute dehydration and increased blood flow to the skin. The wellness industry stripped the cultural and relaxation aspects from traditional saunas, slapped a fake medical label on them, and used it to charge you $40 for a session. Your pores are an emergency cooling mechanism, not a garbage chute for your bad weekend decisions. 36. You believe that gentle stretching and low-intensity yoga burn massive amounts of calories and are a perfect substitute for lifting weights when trying to lose fat. Boutique yoga studios and Zen aesthetic Instagram influencers project an image of effortless, spiritual fat loss. In reality, the amount of energy you burn doing an hour of restorative stretching on a mat is only marginally higher than the calories you burn taking a nap. Yoga is incredibly valuable for mobility, mental health, and stress reduction, but as a fat loss tool, it is terribly inefficient. Holding static poses simply does not require the massive energy expenditure or create the muscle damage needed to alter your body composition. This illusion was created by reversing cause and effect. People see incredibly lean, slender people carrying yoga mats and assume the yoga made them thin. In reality, dedicated yogis often adhere to strict, low-calorie, plant-based diets, and the diet is what keeps them lean, not the downward dog. Trying to stretch your way to a six-pack is as delusional as standing on your tiptoes and hoping you'll permanently grow taller. 37. You have heard the legend of negative-calorie foods like celery and cucumbers, believing that your body burns more calories chewing and digesting them than the food actually contains. You aggressively crunch on celery stalks like it's a workout. Trashy beauty magazines from the 2000s and sketchy online diet forums constantly pass this rumor around as a secret hack. The heartbreaking truth is, there is no such thing as a negative calorie food anywhere in nature. The thermic effect of food, the energy it takes to digest, accounts for a maximum of 10% to 20% of a food's total calories. A stalk of celery contains roughly 6 calories, and your body might expend 1 single calorie digesting it. You still absorb a net positive of 5 calories. The negative calorie concept is just cute, sensationalized math invented by lifestyle journalists who needed a catchy headline to sell magazines to lazy dieters. Eating vegetables is great, but chewing on them doesn't turn your jaw into a magical fat-incinerating engine. 38. You believe that taking a shot of apple cider vinegar every morning will melt away belly fat and supercharge your metabolism. You pinch your nose and gag down the acidic liquid every single day. TikTok health gurus and the companies aggressively pushing ACV gummy vitamins have built an empire on this sour myth. The truth is, there is absolutely no magical fat-burning enzyme or compound hidden inside fermented apple juice. While taking vinegar before a carb-heavy meal can slightly blunt a blood sugar spike by slowing down gastric emptying, the liquid itself does not oxidize fat. The mild weight loss some people report is usually because the harsh acidic taste of vinegar literally makes them feel slightly nauseous, which temporarily kills their appetite. Furthermore, drinking it straight can permanently erode your tooth enamel. This fad was birthed from a few incredibly tiny, poorly controlled studies in Japan that showed minuscule weight loss. The alternative health media blew the results wildly out of proportion, creating a booming market for overpriced gummies. You are actively dissolving your teeth with acid instead of just eating fewer calories. 39. You think that drinking a massive fruit-packed smoothie is the ultimate healthy meal replacement for weight loss. You cram your blender full of bananas, berries, and oat milk, thinking you are doing your body a favor. Juice bars, gorgeous social media aesthetics, and the appliance companies that make the blenders have convinced you that liquid fruit is the peak of wellness. The reality is that most commercial and homemade smoothies are catastrophic liquid sugar bombs completely devoid of the fiber needed to slow digestion. A large smoothie with a banana, peanut butter, honey, and oat milk can easily hit 800 calories and contain more sugar than 3 cans of Coke. Because the blender did all the mechanical chewing for you, that massive payload of sugar is mainlined directly into your bloodstream, spiking your insulin and slamming your fat storage into overdrive. The smoothie craze was heavily manufactured by high-end appliance brands like Vitamix and NutriBullet, who successfully marketed their machines as essential tools for a convenient, health-conscious lifestyle. You aren't drinking a cup of vitality. You are slurping down a massive green-tinted dessert through a straw. 40. You assume that to get enough protein to build muscle and burn fat, you must consume massive amounts of meat, specifically dry, flavorless chicken breast. You believe that plant protein is incomplete and biologically useless. Old-school gym bros, the meat industry, and archaic bodybuilding dogma have fiercely protected this protein hierarchy. The truth is, your body is perfectly capable of extracting all the essential amino acids it needs to build muscle from a varied plant-based diet. Your liver is incredibly smart. It acts as a holding tank for amino acids. It doesn't need every essential amino acid present in a single meal. It will happily combine the aminos from the oats you ate at breakfast with the lentils you ate at dinner to form a complete protein profile. The existence of massive, elite vegan athletes proves that choking down dry chicken isn't a biological requirement. The incomplete protein myth was accidentally birthed by the 1971 book Diet for a Small Planet. Even though the author later admitted she was completely wrong about needing to combine plant proteins at every meal, The meat and dairy industries weaponized her mistake for decades to squash veganism. There is no biological law stating you have to chew on poultry that tastes like sawdust to look good naked. 41. And here is one of the most toxic lies of all. You believe that if you are overweight or if you fail at a diet, it is entirely because you are weak, lazy, and lack willpower. You internalize every failure as a deep moral flaw. Reality television shows like The Biggest Loser and society at large constantly push the narrative that obesity is purely a failure of personal responsibility. The truth is, your willpower is a finite resource, and it is bringing a knife to a gunfight against millions of years of evolutionary biology and billions of dollars of food engineering. Hyper-palatable processed foods are precision-engineered in flavor laboratories to hijack the dopamine centers of your brain, creating a chemical addiction that rivals hard drugs. Simultaneously, crash dieting triggers primal survival hormones that make you aggressively seek out calories. You aren't fighting a lack of discipline. You are fighting a biochemical war against conglomerates that have weaponized your own neurology against you. The blame the victim narrative was heavily promoted by the junk food industry to completely absolve themselves of the moral and legal responsibility for intentionally putting addictive chemicals in our food supply. Blaming yourself for caving to a scientifically engineered donut is like blaming a fly for getting caught in a perfectly spun web. 42. The final lie, and the biggest secret of them all. You believe the diet, supplement, and weight loss industries actually want you to get thin and stay healthy forever. Their inspirational commercials, dramatic before and after photos, and promises to be your partner in wellness are designed to make you feel supported. The brutal reality is, if you actually lose the weight and keep it off permanently, their entire business model collapses overnight. The $250 billion weight loss industry is entirely built on repeat customers. They intentionally sell you extreme, unsustainable short-term solutions like detox teas, crash diets, and magic pills, because they know with mathematical certainty that 95% of people will fail and regain the weight. When you inevitably bounce back, drowning in guilt, you will open your wallet to buy their next new and improved program. It is an extraction model ripped straight from the tobacco and casino industries. Hook you with a promise, guarantee your failure, and profit off your relapse. Their financial success relies entirely on your continued suffering. So, turns out, the biggest secret of the diet industry is that the only thing they ever actually wanted to make thinner was your wallet. As you can see, the battle for your health was never being fought on a level playing field. From useless fat burner pills and terrifying myths about starvation mode, to the chemical manipulation of your daily meals by massive food conglomerates, the entire system was carefully designed to hijack your biology and drain your bank account. Getting healthy doesn't require magic teas, expensive waist trainers, or punishing yourself with ice water. It just requires the truth. Which of these 42 lies made you the most angry? Or is there a ridiculous weight loss myth your family still believes that I didn't cover? Drop it in the comments below. If this video helped you escape the maze, hit that like button and subscribe so I can keep exposing the secrets they don't want you to know. Remember, you own your body. Stop letting them sell you back your self-esteem. See you next time.